I normally watch all of the Sunday morning shows, and in this particular one this week with George Steph, they did a segment on the Black Lives Matter movement. Now, there are a couple of people that you may want to pay attention to. The first one is LZ Granderson, and the last one is Bill Kristol. I'm going to play the segment, and then I'm going to make my commentary.
This week, the Powerhouse Roundtable is back with me now. I want to get to, this has in many ways been the year of the activist, the year of the movement, whether it be Trump, Bernie Sanders, and one of the most prominent groups, Black Lives Matter. LZ, what is your sense on the impact that Black Lives Matter has had, and where are they going?
Well, I'm glad you went to the black person first. It's very important to do that. Everyone's all uncomfortable, like going, ooh, you made race joke. Here's the thing. The important thing about Black Lives Matter is that it got white people to pay attention. And what I mean by that is you've all known that racism is still out there in theory. Now you have video to see this actually operating in practice. And what I saw in Ferguson versus what I saw in Staten Island with Eric Grant and what I've seen over these last few weeks in Chicago with Laquan McDonald is because when you have something on video, it becomes more undeniable. And what Black Lives Matter has been able to do is help position through social media these images for the greater society, for white America. So you can see black folks haven't been making this stuff up. This has been happening to us for decades. And I'm glad to see in 2015 and into 2016 more people having these conversations about criminal justice.
I think that, LZ, that's a really good point, because I think there's been movements obviously throughout American history, and they pop up and everything that matters in pushing on civil rights. But I think what's been added is a change in technology. And the fact now that we have a technology that allows anybody to record anything at any time, and so no longer can police cover for each other, no longer can courts cover for each other. It's basically a confrontation now that a movement uses in order to express what they want to see happen. And I think that's fundamentally changed how we are as a country. Bill?
Look, I think if the message of Black Lives Matter is that the main problem blacks face in the United States is police departments, I think that's a bit wrong message. It's not true. Many more African Americans are killed, obviously, by crime, and unfortunately, and tough policing has saved a lot of black lives over the last 20 years. Rudy Giuliani and Mike Bloomberg and Bratton and Ray Kelly have dropped the murder rate in New York from 2,000 a year to 200 a year, and a lot of those victims were black. So if the effect in the real world of Black Lives Matter is to lessen tough policing, that will be bad for blacks.
You're going to see race relations continue to be a big issue in the election and in the campaign. And part of the reason is not just that you see this continued use of this technology, you see and learn about more cases, but also consider Baltimore. I covered those riots in April. You have to remember that you have 5 more cases. They're spread out. That tension in that city has not necessarily been addressed. And I think you could easily see that boil over once again.
Very quick last word.
I just have to say that always going back to black on black crime, which is pretty much what you're saying, it's a de facto use of what white people do when they want to face reality. The fact of the matter is that no one in the black community is saying police are the sole problem. What we're saying is part of the problem that's been ignored.
All right, last word from LZ. When we get back.
Okay, now, Mr. Granderson hit it on the head. Black Lives Matter movement was not formed, okay, in order to combat black on black crime. Everybody knows that black on black crime is a serious issue, just as white on white crime is a serious issue. But to just dispel the notion that the Black Lives Matter movement shouldn't be in existence is false. That's just like saying there's a lot of cancers out there, and because cancer and heart disease are one of the major causes of death in the United States or the world, means that you shouldn't concentrate on cancer of the esophagus or cancer of the jaw is ridiculous. So Bill Kristol, as Mr. Granderson stated, is trying to deflect the sole purpose. The initial sole purpose of the Black Lives Matter movement was to focus the American consciousness on the fact that there was racism in America, and that racism is taking in somewhat the form of police brutality against black people. So again, that false narrative, the BLM movement is focusing on police brutality against black people, where it should be focusing on black crime, is a false narrative. Both should be focused on, but the BLM movement was not created to focus on that larger issue, but created to focus on the smaller one, and we should continue to focus on it. Now, once that problem is eradicated, then you could say that the BLM movement could turn their attention onto the bigger issue. But at this point, the issue that they're focusing on now is very important, both to black people and to people in general, because if you eradicate the problem of police brutality against black people, you're basically going to get a coverage of police brutality against all.